Man, this is one of those stories where I don't want to sound crass, but it's happening, man. Life is getting better under Trump. So, just to kind of get this out of the way, the Pentagon is sending 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the U.S. Mexico border from the AP News. Now, we'll get into the story in a bit. Let's just talk about this for a minute, right? So, already, we're off to an interesting start because the Pentagon essentially argued with Trump because Trump wanted to send 10,000 troops right now to the border. And the Pentagon said, no, we can't do that. That would impact their missions abroad. And so Trump, I guess, decided to go with 1,500 because that's the amount that they agreed to. Now, my question becomes, why did Trump not just say, this isn't a negotiation. This isn't a thing where we're planning. This is something where you say, get your ass down there, get to the border. I don't care about the overseas missions. We're protecting ourselves at home. That's what matters, right? He's the commander-in-chief. The Pentagon does what he says. That's how this works. Now, yes, he's got advisors. He's got people who tell him whether or not it's a good idea. But overall, the buck stops with Trump. He is the one who decides, where does the military go? Who does what? And where does anyone do anything, right? Now, my question becomes, why is it that they believe that these missions abroad are so important that they need to sacrifice troops from the border for these missions abroad? Because we could have had 10,000 troops there. This could have been such a good story, right? We could have said, oh, we've got an entire battalion going to the southern border. We're going to get rid of this immigration. We're going to curtail everything. It's going to be wonderful. Instead, we got 1,500. Now, they're going to send more. Sooner or later, over time, he will get the other 8,500 troops. But, I'll just say, I don't understand, and I mean I do, but I'm still going to say, I don't understand why we need all these missions abroad. What could we possibly be doing that is so important that we can't take the time to protect our border versus doing these missions? Because right now, what wars are going on that we care about? Now, obviously, Ukraine's in a war, but we don't care. Israel's in a war, but we don't care. Now, I say that, I know we do. I know that people do care. I know that the Ukraine war is a contentious war. I know that people are concerned about Israel, this, that, and the other, right? But what I mean by that is, it's not our problem. That's the thing, right? Is that these wars, they're not our wars. They're not our... Israel's our ally, but we've put a ceasefire to the war, right? Ukraine is not our ally. Ukraine is a corrupt country in Europe that, for honestly... not to sound crass, but it doesn't matter. That country does not make a difference to the U.S. Now, it does in terms of providing our allies with oil, with cheap fuel. But beyond that, who cares? Nobody. Now, I'm not meaning to sound crass. I'm not meaning to sound rude. I'm not meaning to, downplay the loss of life there because it's bad. I hate it. I'm extremely, staunchly anti-war, right? But also, there's not a whole lot that we're doing that really matters overseas right now because we're not fighting our own war. We're not fighting war on terror anymore. We're not fighting Ukraine. We're not fighting Russia. It's not our war. I mean, we are, but we shouldn't be. We're not fighting Palestine or Israel, and we shouldn't be, mind you, right? So what could we possibly be doing that we can't have 10,000 troops at the border? Hell, if you wanted to, you could even militarize 10,000 recruits. Bring them into active duty. Not recruits, reserves. There's so many options that we could do. But instead, the Pentagon's just like, no, it's going to jeopardize our missions overseas. Missions that don't matter. We need to take care of ourselves at home before we give any modicum of a shit about anyone overseas. Because, listen, man, I understand we have allies overseas. I understand what we're doing is because the petrodollar, right? We want to make sure that the U.S. maintains the international reserve currency. We want to make sure that the U.S. maintains our international superiority, because that means that we just get to export in wow, I can't talk. That just means we get to export inflation and not really have to produce anything here in the U.S. And I understand that. I get it. But I think that preventing migration, preventing these illegals coming into our border is more important. Because, and it's not even the fact that people are coming through that bothers me the most. It's the drug trafficking. It's the human trafficking. There are children who are being brought over to this country, who are being brought into sex slavery. And we just allow that. It just, it's whatever, Like all these unaccompanied children, I really wonder, how many of them are sex slaves? How many of them are going to be sex slaves? I'd wager a lot of them, because you can't expect a child to make that trip and be okay. No, you gotta have someone else do it for them, or do it with them. Hence the coyotes. Unfortunately, these people are not good people. As Trump said, which is very correct, they're not sending their best and brightest. They're sending criminals. And, the news will try to manipulate you. They'll show you these pictures of crying ladies, which we'll see in this article here. And they'll try to make you feel bad. They'll pull on your heartstrings. They'll make you feel a little regret that you voted for Trump. A little regret that we're going to have these mass deportations. Because these people, they just want a better life. They just want to be safe. But that's all bullshit. Most of these people who are saying, "Ooh, I want asylum, this, that, and the other," right? They're here because they want a better life. They're here because they want economic freedom. They want a better economy, right? They want to make money. They generally want to send that money back home. In fact, I remember one immigrant said, when asked, "Why are you coming to the U.S.?" he said, "I miss Buffalo Wild Wings." And that is the most horseshit response I've ever heard to, "Why are you illegally crossing the U.S. border?" It's not, "Oh, I fear for my life. Oh, the cartels are after me, or the government's persecuting me." No, it's just, "I miss B-dubs. That's it. Just want some B-dubs." And that's so stupid. Like, the fact that we've allowed these people into our country for as long as we have, the fact that we haven't stopped them from coming in, just, it's sickening, honestly, that our government is willing to do that to us. Either way, from the AP, the Pentagon is sending 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the U.S.-Mexico border. The Pentagon said Wednesday it has begun deploying 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the southern border, putting in motion plans President Donald Trump laid out in executive orders shortly after he took office to crack down on immigration. Acting Defense Secretary Robert Salesses said the troops will fly helicopters to assist Border Patrol agents and help in the construction of barriers. The Pentagon will also provide military aircraft for Department of Homeland Security deportation flights for more than 5,000 detained migrants. It's a start. Now, you got to remember, there's between 12 and 20 million that have come through in the past 4 years, and there's approximately, we don't know because they're undocumented, we don't have any idea, right? But there are guesstimations that there's around 40 to 50 million undocumented immigrants in this country. That's a hell of a lot to get rid of. The number of troops and their mission may soon change, Celeste said in a statement. This is just the beginning, he said. In short order, the department will develop and execute additional missions in cooperation with DHS, federal agencies, and state partners to address the full range of threats outlined by the president and our nation's borders, Celeste said. And here we've got this photo of immigration rights activists saying, "No more money for mass deportations." I say no more money for illegal immigration. Stop busting them around. Stop letting them in the country. They don't belong here. They don't need to be here. They are breaking our laws by coming in. Now you'll have the left say, "But no one is illegal. And these are legal asylees." Are they though? Are they really? Because a large portion of them, and in certain states most of them, don't show up for the asylum hearings. If they're really asylees, you'd think that they'd show up. They'd say, "You know what? I want my day in court. I want to be safe. I want to know that I will be okay in this country, that I will be allowed to stay, because I'm in danger." But instead, these people are just economic refugees. They're asking for asylum because they know that'll let them into our country. But that doesn't mean they actually are seeking asylum. They just want a better economy. They want more opportunity. And that's understandable. I get it. America is the greatest country in the world. We have the best economy in the world. We have the most opportunity in the world. So I understand wanting to come here. I really do. But if you're going to do it legally. Because we will not tolerate people who are just spitting in our face, breaking our laws, coming to this country, and then, beyond that, taking our opportunities and sending them abroad. It's disgusting. Defense officials added that the department is prepared to provide many more troops if asked, including up to 2,000 more Marines. Officials said there is no plan now for the troops to do law enforcement, which would put them in a dramatically different role for the first time in decades. Any decision on this will be made by the White House, they said. The active duty forces will join the roughly 2,500 U.S. National Guard and Reserve forces already there. Until this deployment, there were no active duty troops working along the roughly 2,000-mile border. A couple hundred troops started moving to the border earlier Wednesday, according to a senior military official. The military official and a defense official briefed reporters on the condition of anonymity to provide additional details on the deployment. The troops will include 500 Marines from Camp Pendleton in California, and the remainder will be Army. The U.S. forces being used for the deportation flights are separate from the 1,500 deployed for the border mission. Those flights will involve 4 Air Force aircraft based in San Diego and El Paso, along with crews and maintenance personnel. Troops have done similar duties in support of Border Patrol agents in the past, when both Trump and former President Joe Biden sent active duty troops to the border. Troops are prohibited by law from doing law enforcement duties under the Posse Comitatus Act, but that may change. Trump has directed through executive order that the incoming Secretary of Defense and Homeland Security Chief report back within 90 days if they think an 1807 law called the Insurrection Act should be invoked. That would allow those troops to be used in civilian law enforcement on U.S. soil. The last time the act was invoked was in 1992 during rioting in Los Angeles in protest of the acquittal of 4 police officers charged with beating Rodney King. The widely expected deployment coming in Trump's first week in office was an early step in his long-touted plan to expand the use of the military along the border. In one of his first orders on Monday, Trump directed the Defense Secretary to come up with a plan to seal the borders and repel unlawful mass migration. This is something President Trump campaigned on, said Carolyn Leavitt, White House press secretary. The American people have been waiting for such a time as this for our Department of Defense to actually implement Homeland Security seriously. This is the number one priority for the American people. On Tuesday, just as Trump fired the Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan, the service announced it was surging more cutter ships, aircraft, and personnel to the Gulf of America, a nod to the president's directive to rename the Gulf of Mexico. Trump said during his inaugural address on Monday that I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will be immediately halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places in which they came. Military personnel have been sent to the border almost continuously since the 1990s to help address migration, drug trafficking, and transnational crime. In executive order signed Monday, Trump suggested the military would help the Department of Homeland Security with detention space, transportation, including aircraft, and other logistics services. There are about 20,000 Border Patrol agents, and while the southern border is where most are located, they're also responsible for protecting the northern border with Canada. Usually agents are tasked with looking for drug smugglers or people trying to enter the country undetected. More recently, however, they've had to deal with migrants actively seeking out Border Patrol in order to get refuge in America, taxing the agency's staff. In his first term, Trump ordered active duty troops to the border in response to a caravan of migrants slowly making its way through Mexico toward the United States in 2018. Yeah, they were real slow about it. More than 7,000 active duty troops were sent to Texas, Arizona, and California, including military police, an assault helicopter battalion, various communications, medical and headquarters units, combat engineers, planners, and public affairs units. At the time, the Pentagon was adamant that active duty troops would not do law enforcement. So they spent much of their time transporting Border Patrol agents to and along the border, helping them erect additional vehicle barriers and fencing along the border, assisting them with communications and providing some security for border agent camps. The military also provided, blah, blah. It's a bunch of BS. Who cares? Listen, here's the big thing, right? Trump has deployed 1,500 troops. We're going to get 8,500 more in the coming months. Secondary point that's really, really awesome is that the DEA, the ATF, and the U.S. Marshal Service, they're finally going to be useful for once. They're getting deportation powers. They're allowed to do immigration law enforcement. They're finally going to be useful. Instead of screwing up American citizens for once, they're going to actually, do a job that will help America. They will help deport these quote-unquote migrants, these illegal immigrants who have come across this border seeking B-dubs. Now, obviously, that is a really, really strong, watered-down version of what's really happening here. But for lack of a better phrase, they're seeking B-dubs. They want a better economic life. They want to use and abuse us. They want to take our grace and our gratitude, and instead they want to turn it into their own economic benefit. Because, the left will tell you, oh, they pay taxes. They're an economic boon. Who will pick our crops if we get rid of the migrants? It's wild how we heard the same thing with slavery. The left at the time also said, who will pick our crops if we get rid of slavery? It'll ruin the economy. Well, we managed to figure it out, didn't we? Same thing with illegal immigrants. They're just saying, who will pick our crops when we get rid of the illegal immigrants? It'll ruin the economy. I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be okay. Because they're saying, Americans don't want to do these jobs. Americans don't want to do these jobs at the poultry factories, the meat processing plants, the fields, picking crops, picking your cabbages, picking your strawberries. Pretty sure there are plenty of Americans who would be perfectly happy to do that because, hey man, a job's a job and times are tough, right? Life is getting better. Life is going to be good. I hope this is just a precursor for things to come, and I hope that we keep on seeing constant wins like this in the future. So I've got for this one, guys. Next segment's coming up later today. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you then.